Hi everyone, this is Karak from ACG. You know, sometimes something special surprises you. It can be waking up next to a bag of raccoon parts and used Trojans, or finding out your parents were brother and sister and things didn't turn out so bad for you other than your malformed urethra. But particularly special times are set aside for finding that game that totally came out of nowhere and surprised the hell out of you, especially if a subscriber told you about it. Today's game is BloodLust Shadowhunter, a mixture of Diablo games, a bit of Hellgate London's few good parts, and add in some vampire bloodlines and you have BloodLust Shadowhunter, a game where you pick a suitably sanguine suitor and explore the deep, dark underworld of the Undead Union in procedurally created levels, all the while trying to discover the answers to various supernatural questions. It's like the best part of Unsolved Mysteries, except replace Robert Stack with a witch, warrior, or thief, and you're the one causing the mysterious disappearances as you go out and bite, battle, stab, seduce, and subterfuge your way into success. Let's get to it, shall we? So here's the review for BloodLust Shadowhunter: biting bitches and making them yours, procedural levels, completely dynamic gameplay, and basically open world underground vampire dancing GTA with a twist. Does it sound epic? Yeah, it pretty much does. Let's see if it lives up to that. Graphics are up first. Yeah, the game doesn't look good. And no, I'm being serious. It looks like at the best of times it's okay, with various creatures sprouting like fast-forward bloodthirsty vegetables, leaping from a garden made of dead bones and spilled enemy blood, just jetting up from the floor. And occasionally also dropping from the ceiling like Dom in the new Gears of War game. Hilariously, their AI is actually better than Dom from the new Gears of War game, but I'll get to that in a second. Your character animations are at times fairly well done, but when you swing a weapon or cast a spell, there is almost always a bit of jank within the animation to remind you of one thing. A single dude made this game. One person, one dev. And if you take that into account, holy hell, this is actually pretty amazing. All of the classes in the two subtypes look somewhat different. You have different skills. Additionally, you can be a male or a female. Add into that the fact that texture-wise, the game actually isn't that bad, especially when, again, you remember that it's just one person. And going outside for brief moments and seeing the neon signs of a back alley tattoo shop, the game actually looks pretty good. Okay, maybe it doesn't look really good, but hey, one guy, it's got suitable jank for a one-man band. But it also flatly rocks when you consider that no one piece looks terrible, while many parts of the game actually look pretty cool. Monsters aren't the best looking, but an absolutely rock-solid use of environmental effects means that coming around a corner and seeing nothing but the shadow of a creature far too tall and far too lean to be a human floating around in the thick gray of what I can only assume is the culmination of 2,000 years of vampires passing bloody gas until it's a visible mist can be absolutely frightening all by itself. Additionally, some of the monsters aren't the typical archetypes that you would expect to find in a vampire game, which adds a freshness to the locations that never seems cheap or strange, just suitably odd. Now, once you delve deep, the procedurally generated areas not only look fine, but they somehow get away with not looking procedurally generated half the time. And I didn't even know that they were for the first few hours I played until I went back to Steam and read about some of the title. Secrets abound, and using both skills and an eye for detail, you'll soon be mapping out massive underground complexes as you track down various vampire and other worldly subcultures within the game. At times it reminded me of precursors, Arx Fatalis or Parkin 2, games that continued to offer more and more as they were played, and each time I found a new location or tried something new, I was surprised to see that the game was prepared for it from both a gameplay standpoint but also a graphics standpoint. It runs at a very good frame rate with rarely any drops as well, and that's good because as a whole I would say the graphics are passable but not excellent, on the cusp between, let's say, okay to good. You can crank up the anti-aliasing and the resolution and enjoy sound, music, and voice.
Why are you still standing here? You must make your way to the theater quickly.
The club is closed. There's a private party tonight. Invite only.
And of course, sound is always up first, and hot damn, the sound effects that for the most part respect the spectrum of available human hearing, and there's nary a crushed audio sample to be heard. There are some bits here and there that sound a bit muddy, and some of the effects could have been helped with a little bit of an extra sheen or polish, and perhaps some After Effects and more drawn-out samples, but overall very good for a one-man show with no effects sounding overly repetitive throughout the game. And of course, that brings us to music, and yeah, surprisingly, this also isn't bad, with interesting uses of everything from whispered voices to what sounds like autogun, which is a crazy good virtual instrument that you can use to create suitably creepy vibes for exploring places where dead people like to hang out and sleep and shit. All in all, I have to say, of all the things I was surprised about the most with this title, music was probably the highest. It's not perfect, but it's really not bad at all. Voice. First of all, it's completely voiced, which is about as surprising as finding out that many AAA games don't actually do that. Now, they aren't perfect voices, and sometimes you can tell that many of them are from the same guy, but rarely are they laugh out loud funny, and many times they do an incredible amount to add atmosphere to a title. Simply a plaudable effort put into the title here, especially when you consider just how it was done. Gameplay. Now here's the meat of it. You create a character and then begin exploring the underworld, trying to both uncover a mystery concerning yourself, but also doing some pretty crazy things like biting other people to create sires. These are men and women who will go out and do anything for you, like find loot, bring it to you, hunt down treasure, and other assorted odds and ends. Basically think undead Donald Trump yes men. Soulless, controllable yes men. It's fantastic and, strangely enough, a system that isn't in almost all other vampire games. The world is mostly procedural, and you basically explore a massive underworld that has various factions of creatures, all of which you can befriend, ruinate, or ignore as you play. The meat of the game is dungeon exploration and character progression, with a second emphasis on story. But let me tell you, this game has got the teeter-totter of gameplay down to a damn science. Just one more room was a saying that led me to ultimate demise a couple times. Just one more item for an inventory came close to signing my death warrant many times. And yet tangible upgrades kept me pushing, despite the occasional chewing of my bones that endured. The game has an absolutely almost insatiable draw, and like a victim to the vampire, I kept coming back no matter how bad the game amused me or abused me. It's surprisingly like its subject matter in that way. Now, that's not to say the game is actually hard. I found it around middling, with occasional sections becoming tougher as I went. The game does warn you fairly often if you're pushing it or entering a dangerous location, and I love that. It's that second warning voice an idiot like me needs. Because I'm the first one to say, hey, look at those depleted steps going down into the darkness where those screams are coming from. Let's go check that out. The game warns you, and you get a choice to ignore it or not. Now, while adventuring, you will level up, and the number of items also procedurally generated, and skills and spells and everything else is just awe-inspiring in a title like this. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's everything from alchemy to poisoning weapons to building a defense against poisoned weapons, and everything is a what you see is what you get kind of thing. You gather poison items to poison items. You kill snakes to gather snake eyes, and yet those snakes happen to be one of the major ways traps can kill you, or at the very least set you out to be killed if you don't navigate the moments of being poisoned intelligently. The circular gameplay loop here is almost magical, and I found my top hat wearing sword swinging vagabond soon meeting both NPCs and enemies that required a head on my shoulders, even if that head was drained of blood. It's also this splitting of the game that I really enjoyed, with a small town area being where much of the story was related and given to you, while down below in the dregs, the dungeon of delving deep, the Kiltastic catacombs, you get the picture. That's where the main action takes place, and it's fantastic. Now, sure, the monsters can over time become repetitive, and so too after a while can some of the locations, but the procedural system at work here is almost second to none and offers more level variety and usage of character skills for progression and secret finding than most games developed by teams approximately 50 to 60 people larger than this one. You can use your secret vision to find traps and locations. You can use your supernatural ability to leap to find hidden treasure. You can even send your essence into locations to scout ahead for you, or activate traps or doors, levels, or secret panels. And that's about 4 of the dozens upon dozens of skills and talents. Sincerely, hats off to these guys, or this guy, for putting this much into a game. Now, it is early access, but bugs are being reported and fixed with less than 24 hours turnaround, and that's probably one of the reasons that this game has made such a massive splash in the Steam forums and has such very positive user reviews. I was blown away. Basically, the mixture of Diablo-style gameplay, Vampire Bloodlines light kind of role-playing, and skill and talent world interaction is second to none here. That's not to say it's perfect. Repetitiveness can hit you right in the fun bags from time to time, and occasionally the quest system wasn't too keen on telling me exactly what I was supposed to do at any one time. But with solid investigative work, those few times were easily rectified. But just a warning, it can happen. Fun factor. It's a goddamn blast. It's an absolute blast. I mean, let's be honest. You run around biting hobos who then thank you and go find you shiny shit. It's like a childhood playground dream turned to reality. You bite people and you don't get in trouble for it. Seriously. And that ability to control them and basically create your own family of slaves beneath you to do your bidding was not only fun from a game standpoint, but it offered incredibly tangible rewards throughout the playthrough, as well as a motivation to continue. There is just so much here that it actually surprises me. If I wasn't talking to fashionably dressed vampires, I was poisoning weapons. If I wasn't doing that, then I was finding secret entrances to ambush enemies, or discovering that sometimes killing an enemy results in a tangibly worse situation being created than if I just snuck by or tried to get along. Honestly, the only other game I can remember offering this many systems within systems was State of Decay, and that took longer to get into to see that meat of those systems. This reminds me of my younger years when surprise was easy and a game was magical because of what it offered, not because it used a new type of anti-aliasing to questionable effect or pushed some new online component. This is a $40 game with a $13 price tag, full stop. So I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never talk about it again rating scale. This is a buy easily. This thing offers more diverse gameplay than many massively produced and tirelessly PR'd titles. It's a blast to play. Its systems are excellent, and though it doesn't always look the best, its usage of excellent music, fully voiced characters, and adherence to offering the player something to do that's fun at all times beats out characters that can at times look like original Xbox creations. Now, I'm not going to lie. There's some issues here and there, and the game can be janky, and it can be repetitive at times. It's also $13.99, and it offers an absolutely amazing amount of gameplay. Completely, without a doubt, this is my surprise title of 2015, blown away by what I found within this game. So that's it for me. I hope you liked the review. If you did, hit thumbs up. If you didn't, hit thumbs down. And as always, peace out.
Hello? What do you want? Your teeth? One of those monsters. No, no!